The great chamber of the Galactic Council was so vast its walls dissolved into artificial dusk. Representatives from 73 species occupied floating platforms, each positioned at a height that reflected their civilization's standing in the cosmic order. Translation fields hummed constantly, converting clicks, growls, and whistles into words every alien could understand. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood alone at the chamber's center, wearing a simple gray suit. Around her, the council members settled into their pods with thinly hidden smirks. Some made sounds the translators rendered as laughter, others simply stared with their various eyes, antennae, and sensing organs. She had just delivered Earth's formal declaration. The document was short and direct. Based on the council's reaction, it was also completely ridiculous. "Let me make sure I understand," Speaker Tom Van said, his three-part beak clicking in what passed for amusement among his kind. "Your species achieved faster than light travel only 80 years ago, and now you claim exclusive rights to everything within 50 light years of your home system. Is that correct?" "Yes," Chen replied, her voice steady and calm. She showed no sign of the nervousness anyone might expect from someone so young addressing the galaxy's most powerful body. "You truly expect every space-traveling civilization to honor this boundary?" Tom Van's tone made clear what he thought of the idea. "We're not expecting anything," Chen said. "We're stating fact. Respect this border." The chamber erupted. The translation field struggled to keep up. Laughter, certainly. Disbelief, absolutely. Outrage from aggressive species who saw this as a direct insult to the established order. Chen waited without moving, without breaking eye contact while council members expressed their opinions about humanity's audacity. Finally, Tom Van raised one wing to call for silence. The noise gradually faded, though the undercurrent of amusement remained. "Ambassador Chen," he said, "your species controls only 12 colonies. 12. The Zitharan Empire controls 47 star systems. The Marine Collective spans 300 worlds. Even the youngest species on this council, besides you, has traveled the stars for 600 years. What possible reason do you have for making such a claim?" "We're not making a demand," Chen said. "We're informing you of what is." A new voice cut through the chamber, deep, resonant with the kind of authority that came from conquest. All eyes turned to the Zitharan pod. High Commander Velkoth leaned forward, his massive frame filling the viewing screen. Zitharans were enormous even by galactic standards, with thick armored skin and 4 powerful arms. They had built their empire through military strength, and they viewed any challenge to their authority as an invitation to prove their superiority. "Are you threatening us?" Velkoth asked. "We are establishing a boundary," Chen replied, turning to face him. "We ask that all species respect it. You ask nothing." Velkoth's mandibles spread in what his kind used for a smile. "You stand before this council and declare that a massive region of space belongs to your infant civilization, and expect us to simply comply." "Yes," Chen said simply. Velkoth's laughter sounded like boulders grinding together. "And if we refuse, will your 12 tiny colonies wage war against the entire galaxy?" "I hope it doesn't come to that," Chen said. Velkoth stood to his full impressive height. "Let me tell you what I think of your hope, human. The Zitharan Empire has crushed species with technology far beyond yours. We have shattered fleets 10 times larger than your entire navy. And you think you can tell us where we may or may not travel?" Chen's expression remained unchanged. "Commander Velkoth, I would strongly suggest you listen." "Advise nothing," the Zitharan roared. "The traditional trade route between Zitharan space and the Outer Rim passes directly through your so-called exclusion zone. We have used it for 3,000 years. Do you truly believe we will change our path because a species still using fusion drives asks us politely?" "You could adjust the route," Chen said. "It would only add about 6 days to your journey." "A small inconvenience compared to what?" Velkoth's forearms spread wide. "Compared to insulting the Zitharan Empire by suggesting we must go around your pathetic territory?" "No, Ambassador Chen, I will not adjust anything. I believe it is time someone taught your species where it actually stands in the galactic order." The chamber fell silent. Even the species that had been laughing now watched with sudden interest. Velkoth's words were not just talk. When a Zitharan High Commander spoke of teaching lessons, fleets usually followed. "Commander, perhaps we should discuss this more diplomatically," Tom Van suggested carefully. "There is nothing to discuss," Velkoth interrupted. In 3 of your months, the Zitharan trade fleet will pass through the human exclusion zone on our traditional route. If the humans object, they are welcome to try. They will learn quickly why young species listen when their elders speak. He cut the transmission. His pod went dark. Chen stood motionless in the chamber's center. Around her, council members began discussing among themselves. Some seemed troubled by Velkoth's declaration. Others appeared satisfied that humanity would soon be reminded of its place. A few looked at Chen with something that might have been pity. "Ambassador Chen," Tomvan said, his earlier amusement gone, "the council cannot control individual empires. If the Zitharan fleet enters your exclusion zone, we will not intervene. However, I must warn you that any hostile action against Zitharan vessels will be considered an act of war. The council will not support Earth." "We understand," Chen said. "Do you?" An older voice spoke from one of the highest pods where the eldest and most respected species observed. Counselor Creole of the Vor Collective leaned forward, her ancient eyes fixed on the human. Commander Velkoth was not making an empty threat. "That Zitharan fleet will include at least 200 warships. Your entire navy has what, 40 vessels? And those with inferior shields and weapons?" 37 vessels currently operational, Chen confirmed. "Then you must see reason," Creole continued, her tone almost gentle. "Withdraw your declaration. Apologize to the Zitharans. Perhaps offer them trade advantages. It is not too late to prevent catastrophe." Chen shook her head slowly. "We will not withdraw the declaration." "Then your people will die," Creole said flatly. "Child species, I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires older than your entire civilization. I have seen what happens when pride outweighs wisdom. The Zitharans will not show mercy." "We are not asking for mercy," Chen said. "What are you asking for?" Creole demanded. "You must want something. No species makes declarations like this without reason." For the first time since entering the chamber, something shifted in Chen's expression. Something moved behind her eyes that made several nearby council members unconsciously lean back. "We want to be left alone," she said quietly. "That is all we have ever wanted. We spent 10,000 years fighting ourselves, destroying ourselves, nearly ending ourselves a dozen times over. We finally unified. We finally looked up at the stars and decided to join the galaxy peacefully. And in 80 years we have been invaded twice, had our trade ships seized 7 times. Watch 3 of our colonies demand protection payments from species who see us as easy targets because we are young." Her voice remained calm, but the words cut through the chamber like a blade. "We are tired," Chen continued. "Tired of being tested, tired of being viewed as prey, tired of explaining that we simply want to develop in peace. So we are drawing a line, a clear line, and we are telling the galaxy as politely as we know how not to cross it." "Or what?" Velkoth's voice returned, his pod lighting up again. Apparently he had been listening. "What will you do, human? Your weapons are primitive. Your shields are weak. Your ships are slow. What possible threat do you pose to me?" Chen turned to face his pod one final time. "We told you what we want, Commander. We told you where our boundaries are. We told you what would happen if you cross them. If you choose not to listen, that is your decision." She paused, and her next words fell into the chamber like stones into still water. "But do not say you were not warned." She bowed slightly to Tomvan, turned and walked toward the chamber exit. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. "Pathetic," Velkoth muttered. 3 months, human. 3 months and your exclusion zone will be revealed as a fantasy. And perhaps after we pass through your space unopposed, your species will learn humility." Chen stopped at the door but did not turn around. 3 months, she agreed. Then she left. The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Finally, Tomvan spoke. "Are there any other matters to discuss?" "Wait," came a voice from an unexpected source. Ambassador Yolene of the Corran Dominion rose from his pod. The Taurians were an ancient species, peaceful by nature, known more for their philosophy than military power. "I must speak." "Ambassador Yolene," Tomvan said, sounding surprised. "Please continue." "I have studied the humans," Yolene said. "It is my hobby, you might say. I have read their history, their literature, their philosophy. I have watched how they behave. And I would urge caution," Yolene said carefully. "Humans are different. Different how?" Creole asked. "They are a species that spent 90% of their existence at war with themselves. They developed nuclear weapons and pointed them at their own cities. They created diseases that could kill billions and stored them in laboratories. They invented ways to poison their own atmosphere, boil their own oceans, crack their own planet, and yet they never quite destroyed themselves. They came close dozens of times, but something always pulled them back. What is your point? Velkoth demanded. My point, Commander, is that humans are very good at one thing above all others: finding new and efficient ways to kill. They spent millennia perfecting the art. And now that they have finally stopped fighting each other, one must wonder what they have been doing with all that creative energy. Building colonies and fusion drives, Velkoth scoffed. I am not impressed. Perhaps you should be, Yolene said quietly. When a human issues a warning, Commander, it is because they have already prepared for what comes after the warning is ignored. It is their nature. They do not bluff. Velkoth's laughter boomed through the chamber. Then let them prepare. I look forward to seeing what their preparations have accomplished. Perhaps they have built 40 ships instead of 37. Perhaps they have upgraded their shields by 5%. It will not matter. He cut his transmission. This time his pod went dark permanently. The council session ended shortly after. As various ambassadors departed, small groups formed discussing the confrontation they had witnessed. Most agreed that humanity had overstepped. Some felt sympathy for what would likely happen to Earth's colonies. A few, like Yolene, expressed private concerns that were largely dismissed. In 3 months, the Zitharan trade fleet would enter human space. 300 warships, the largest display of force the Empire had assembled in decades. It would be, Velkoth had announced, a demonstration that would echo through the galaxy for centuries. He was right about that, though not in the way he imagined. The Zitharan fleet assembled at the rally point 3 days ahead of schedule. Commander Velkoth wanted to make a statement, and he had succeeded. 300 warships hung in the void like a metal constellation. Their running lights created an artificial galaxy against real stars. Each vessel was massive, built for war, covered in armor thick enough to shrug off most weapons in the known galaxy. Each one carried enough firepower to level a small moon. Velkoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will, and surveyed his fleet through the main view screen. Pride swelled in his chest. This was power. This was the might that had conquered 47 systems. And he was about to use it to teach one arrogant species a lesson they would never forget. All ships report ready, Commander, his tactical officer announced. Excellent. Velkoth settled into his command chair. He broadcast on all frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. The communications officer worked quickly. Moments later, she nodded. All channels open, Commander. Every ship within 30 light years will receive this. Velkoth leaned forward, his voice dropping into the formal register used for official declarations. This is High Commander Velkoth of the Zitharan Empire, addressing all vessels and settlements in this region of space. The fleet you see before you will now proceed along our traditional trade route, passing through the region the human species has foolishly claimed as their exclusive territory. We do this to demonstrate a simple truth. Young species do not dictate terms to their elders. The Zitharan Empire goes where it wishes when it wishes. Any attempt to interfere with our passage will be considered an act of war, and will be met with the full force of imperial might. This is not a threat. This is fact. He made a cutting gesture and the transmission ended. Set course, he ordered. Standard formation, maximum scanner range. If the humans have any ships waiting for us, I want to know about them long before we arrive. The fleet moved as one, 300 ships executing the same turn, accelerating together toward the boundary of human space. The formation was beautiful in its precision, intimidating in its scope. Velkoth had chosen the traditional trade route specifically because it cut directly through the center of the human exclusion zone. He wanted there to be no doubt, no room for the humans to claim he had simply skirted the edge. He would pass through the heart of their claimed space, and he would do it unopposed. The journey to the boundary took 6 hours at standard fleet speed. Velkoth spent the time reviewing tactical reports and deployment plans. He did not expect the humans to actually oppose him, but if they did, he wanted the response to be overwhelming and immediate. A quick, decisive defeat would serve as a better lesson than simply passing through unopposed. Commander, his sensor officer called out. We are approaching the boundary coordinates specified in the human declaration. Any sign of human vessels? No, sir. Scanners show empty space ahead. No ships, no stations, no defense platforms, nothing. Velkoth felt a mixture of satisfaction and disappointment. Satisfaction that his assumptions had been correct. The humans had nothing with which to enforce their ridiculous claim. Disappointment that there would be no actual confrontation, no opportunity to demonstrate Zitharan's superiority in combat. "Continue forward," he ordered. The fleet crossed the invisible line that marked the boundary of the human exclusion zone. Velkoth noted the exact moment in the ship's log. Let the historians record that the Zitharan Empire had treated human demands with the contempt they deserved. Space looked exactly the same on both sides of the boundary. The same distant stars, the same empty void. The human exclusion zone was just like any other region of space, devoid of anything special or dangerous. "Maintain course," Velkoth said. "Estimated time to cross the exclusion zone at current speed?" "Approximately 8 days, Commander," his navigation officer replied. "Very well. I want scanner sweeps every 10 minutes. If a single human ship approaches, I want to know about it immediately." The first 3 hours passed without incident. The fleet moved steadily deeper into the exclusion zone, maintaining perfect formation. Velkoth walked through various sections of his flagship, inspecting the crew, ensuring readiness even though he expected no actual combat. In the command center of the dominant will, tactical displays showed the positions of all 300 ships, each one exactly where it should be. Velkoth allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be remembered. The day the Zitharan Empire proved that human warnings were empty threats. Then the sensor officer spoke up. "Commander, we have a contact. Single ship, small, approaching from Galactic North." Velkoth moved quickly to the sensor station. "Analysis. It's definitely human design, sir. Fusion signature matches their standard drive systems. Mass suggests a research vessel, not military. It's not even shielded. A research vessel? Hail them." The communications officer worked for a moment. "They're responding, Commander." Putting them on screen. The main view screen shifted to show a small bridge cramped compared to Zitharan standards. A human woman in a simple jumpsuit stood at its center. Behind her, Velkoth could see perhaps 4 other crew members working at various stations. "This is Captain Maria Torres of the research vessel Cassandra," the woman said. Her voice was tired, as if she had been through this conversation before. "You are currently in violation of Earth's exclusion zone. Turn back now. This is your final warning." Velkoth stared at the screen in disbelief. Then he began to laugh. Around the bridge, his crew joined in. "Your final warning," he repeated. "Captain Torres, look around you. 300 warships, each one capable of destroying your vessel with a single shot. And you issue warnings?" Torres nodded slowly. "I see your ships, Commander. They're very impressive. But I'm still telling you to turn back, or what? Or what will you do with your little research ship?" Velkoth's amusement faded. "Ram us?" "I won't do anything," Torres said. "But if you continue forward, something else will. Please, Commander, turn back. Take the long route. Add 6 days to your journey. It's such a small price." "The only price that will be paid today is the one for your arrogance," Velkoth growled. "You have 30 seconds to move your ship out of our path, or we will move it for you." Torres closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, Velkoth saw something unexpected in her expression. "Not fear, not anger, just sadness. Then I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry we couldn't convince you. I'm sorry for what's going to happen. I'm sorry that we tried so hard to avoid this and you forced us to do it anyway." 20 seconds, Velkoth said. "My crew and I volunteer for this," Torres continued, speaking quickly now. "We all signed up knowing what might happen. We drew straws to see who would get to be the last voice you heard. The last person who tried to warn you. I won. 10 seconds. Our families know," she continued. "They're proud of us. We all left messages. Mine said fire. Fire," Velkoth commanded. The weapons officer pressed a single button. A lance of superheated plasma crossed the distance between the dominant will and the Cassandra. In less than a second, the research vessel didn't even try to dodge. It simply vanished in a bright flash of light and expanding gas. Silence filled the Zitharan bridge. "Resume course," Velkoth said quietly. He felt no satisfaction from the kill. Something about Torres's words bothered him, though he could not say what. She had been so calm, so resigned, as if she had expected exactly what happened, as if it had all been part of some larger plan. He shook off the thought. The Cassandra had been nothing, a nuisance. Its destruction changed nothing about the fleet's mission. All ships maintain formation. Continue forward. The fleet obeyed. 300 warships now traveling through space where a single human ship had burned. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Velkoth remained on the bridge, though he sent his crew in shifts to rest. Something felt wrong, though he could not identify what. Space looked normal. Scans showed nothing unusual. The fleet systems all operated at peak efficiency. And yet, "Commander," the sensor officer said, her voice uncertain, "I'm getting something. Not a ship, not anything solid. Just strange readings. Define strange. I don't know how to describe it, sir. The sensors are showing fluctuations in local space itself. Nothing dangerous, just unusual. As if space is rippling." "Localized gravitic distortion," Velkoth suggested. "Natural phenomena. Maybe. I've never seen anything quite like this before. It's almost like..." She trailed off, working her instruments. "Sir, it's moving with us. The readings are staying at a constant distance from the fleet, matching our speed exactly." Velkoth felt real concern. "How is that possible?" "I don't know, sir. Are we in any danger?" "I don't think so. The readings are weak. Whatever it is, it's not interfering with our systems. It's just there." Velkoth made a decision. "Increase scanner power. I want a full analysis of this phenomenon, and send a message to all ships. I want to know if anyone else is detecting the same thing." Responses came back within minutes. Every ship in the fleet reported similar readings. The phenomenon surrounded them, a strange rippling in space itself that seemed to follow their movement. Could it be a sensor malfunction? Velkoth asked. "Across 300 ships, sir, with different sensor arrays and manufacturers?" "Highly unlikely. Then what is it?" No one had an answer. The fleet continued forward. The strange readings persisted, never strengthening, never fading, just maintaining their constant presence around the fleet like a shadow that moved in perfect sync with its source. In the following hours, other problems began to emerge. Small things at first, minor glitches in navigation systems, brief power fluctuations, communication delays between ships that should have been instant. Nothing serious, nothing that would normally cause concern, but added together, they created an atmosphere of unease that spread through the fleet. Velkoth ordered a full diagnostic of all systems. The results showed nothing wrong. Every ship's computer confirmed that all systems operated within normal parameters. The glitches continued anyway, as if something was affecting the fleet in ways the diagnostics couldn't detect. "Commander," his communications officer said nervously, "the Relentless, one of our destroyers on the outer perimeter. They've gone silent." Velkoth spun to face her. "Silent, define silent." "No response to hail, sir. They're still on sensors, still in formation, but they're not responding to any communication attempts." "Jamming?" "No indication of jamming, sir. The channel is clear. They're just not answering." A cold feeling settled in Velkoth's chest. "Send a message to the ships nearest to the Relentless. Have them make visual contact. I want to know what's happening." He waited, watching the tactical display. The Relentless continued moving in formation, maintaining exact position relative to the rest of the fleet. Its engines were clearly working. Its systems appeared online. So why weren't they answering? "Sir?" the communications officer said, her voice shaking now. "The ships we sent to check on the Relentless. They've gone silent too." The cold feeling in Velkoth's chest spread. "How many?" "2 destroyers, sir. The Iron Fang and Stormbreaker. Both were moving toward the Relentless to establish visual contact. Both stopped responding about 30 seconds ago." Velkoth stared at the tactical display. 3 ships, all shown as green icons, all apparently functioning normally, but none of them responding. "Are they still moving?" "Yes, sir. Still maintaining formation perfectly." "Then who's piloting them?" No one answered. Velkoth made a decision he knew he might regret. "Halt the fleet. All stop now." The order rippled through the ships. 300 vessels began reducing speed, coming to a relative stop in empty space. 300 vessels except for 3. The Relentless, Iron Fang, and Stormbreaker continued forward, maintaining their original course and speed, pulling ahead of the rest of the fleet. "They're not responding to the stop order," the navigation officer said unnecessarily. Velkoth watched as the 3 ships grew smaller on the tactical display, moving away from the fleet. He waited for them to stop, to turn around, to do something that indicated living beings controlled them. They did nothing. They just kept moving forward, deeper into the exclusion zone until the distance grew too great for visual contact. "Commander," the sensor officer whispered. "They just vanished." "What?" The 3 ships. They're gone. Not destroyed. No debris, no explosion. They're just gone. Sensors show nothing where they should be. Velkoth felt his breathing quicken. Around the bridge, his crew stared at their instruments in shock. "Find them," he ordered. "Full sensor sweep. They have to be somewhere." They searched for an hour. Long-range scanners, short-range scanners, visual searches, everything they could think of. 3 destroyers, each carrying 200 crew members, had simply vanished from existence. And somewhere in his mind, Velkoth heard Captain Torres's voice again. "I'm sorry for what's going to happen." What had the humans done? What had he led his fleet into? Commander Velkoth had not slept in 36 hours. He stood on the bridge of the dominant will, staring at tactical displays that made less sense with each passing hour. Around him, his crew worked with quiet desperation, searching for answers that refused to appear. The fleet had lost 47 ships. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply gone as if they had never existed at all. One moment they appeared on sensors maintaining perfect formation. The next moment, empty space. No explosions, no debris fields, no distress calls. Nothing. The disappearances followed no pattern Velkoth could identify. Ships on the outer perimeter vanished. Ships in the center of the formation vanished. Large battle cruisers and small frigates disappeared with equal frequency. The only constant was that once a ship went silent, it was already too late. Within minutes, sometimes seconds, it would simply cease to exist. "Report," Velkoth demanded. His voice was hoarse from shouting orders and demanding explanations that no one could provide. "Fleet count stands at 253 vessels, Commander," his tactical officer said. She looked exhausted. Her scales had lost their normal sheen and her hands trembled as she worked her console. "We have lost 6 more ships in the past hour. 6 ships. More than 12,000 crew members gone. Damage reports. Why, no damage reports, sir. Ships that have not disappeared are all showing green across the board. All systems nominal." That was perhaps the most terrifying part. The ships that remained were fine, perfect even. No system failures, no battle damage, no signs of any external threat. Crews reported feeling uneasy, uncomfortable, as if they were being watched. But the ships themselves functioned flawlessly right up until they vanished. "What about the sensor readings?" Velkoth asked. "The spatial distortions we detected earlier." "Intensifying, Commander. The rippling effect is much stronger now. Some of our sensor technicians are reporting unusual feedback patterns. They describe it as if space itself is alive around us." Velkoth felt his mandibles tighten with stress. "That's not scientifically possible." "No, sir." "It's not." He turned to his communications officer. "Any response from the humans?" "Negative, sir. We have been broadcasting on all frequencies, requesting dialogue, requesting explanation, requesting anything. No response." Either they're not listening or they're choosing not to answer, Velkoth thought, but did not say aloud. Or they're all dead too, but he didn't believe that. Deep in his gut, he knew the humans were out there watching, waiting, letting this happen. "Commander," the navigation officer called out, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "We have a problem with the jump coordinates." "What kind of problem?" "I've been calculating jump vectors to get us out of this region. Multiple routes, different destinations, everything I can think of. But every calculation, no matter where I set as the destination, shows us jumping deeper into the exclusion zone." Velkoth crossed the bridge in 3 strides. "Let me see." The navigation officer brought up his calculations on the main display. Velkoth studied them. His own training in spatial mechanics allowed him to follow the complex mathematics. His officer was right. Every jump vector, regardless of the intended destination, curved back toward the center of the human exclusion zone, as if space itself had warped, creating a gravitational well that pulled everything toward a single point. "This is impossible," Velkoth said. "This would require manipulating space itself on a massive scale. The energy requirements alone would exceed anything we've ever seen." "Yes, sir," the navigation officer finished. "But the math doesn't lie. We cannot jump out of this region. We're trapped." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Trapped. "Then we travel the old way," Velkoth decided. "Plot a course using sublight engines. We'll return to the exclusion zone boundary the same way we came in." "Already tried that, sir. Ships that have attempted to reverse course have disappeared faster than those that maintained original heading. It's as if moving backward triggered something. Then we go forward. Forward is toward the center of the zone, sir. Deeper into human space." Velkoth wanted to scream. Instead, he forced his voice to remain steady. Are you telling me that we can only move in one direction, toward the heart of Earth's territory? It appears that way, sir. A new voice spoke from the communication station. Commander, we're receiving a transmission. Human frequencies. Every head on the bridge turned. Finally, after hours of silence, the humans were making contact. Put it through, Velkoth ordered. The main view screen lit up, but it did not show a human face. Instead, simple text appeared. White letters on a black background. The translation field struggled for a moment, then rendered the message in Zitharan script. You were warned. That was all. 3 words. Then the transmission ended. Velkoth stared at the screen long after it went dark. Around him, his crew sat in silence. Respond, he finally said. Tell them we acknowledge their message. Tell them we request immediate communication to negotiate terms for our departure. The communications officer worked frantically, sending message after message on every frequency available, begging, pleading, promising anything and everything, if the humans would just respond. They sent 147 messages over the next 3 hours. Not one received a reply. The fleet continued forward because it had no choice. The web around them pulsed and fed and consumed, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Velkoth thought about Captain Torres again. Her sad eyes, her apology. She had known. They had all known. The humans had tried to warn them, tried to save them, and the Zitharans had been too arrogant to listen. Commander, my sensor officer said, I'm detecting something ahead. I think it's a ship. Human configuration. Velkoth felt a desperate surge of hope. Hail them immediately. Working, sir. They're responding. A human face appeared on screen. Male, middle-aged, wearing a military uniform. He looked at Velkoth with an expression that might have been sympathy. Commander Velkoth, the human said. My name is Captain James Rivera. I'm here to witness. Witness. Velkoth didn't understand. We need help. Your system, whatever it is, it's destroying my fleet. Make it stop. Rivera shook his head slowly. I can't do that. No one can. Once you entered the exclusion zone without authorization, the defensive grid activated automatically. It cannot be deactivated while unauthorized vessels remain inside. Then authorize us, please. We'll leave immediately. You can't leave, Rivera said gently. The grid won't allow it. I'm sorry, Commander. I truly am. But you were warned multiple times. You chose not to listen. This is genocide, Velkoth roared. No, Rivera corrected. This is self-defense. You brought a military fleet into our territory after being explicitly told not to. You destroyed the Cassandra when it tried one last time to save you. Every death that occurs here is a direct result of your choices. We didn't know. We didn't understand what you had built. That's why we warned you, Rivera said. That's why we established the exclusion zone. That's why we begged the Galactic Council to make sure all species understood that our boundaries were not negotiable. We tried everything we could to prevent this. You forced us to do it anyway. On Velkoth's tactical display, 3 more ships vanished. Casualties? He asked. 5 KIA. An officer replied. Kelry survived. Velkoth's thoughts froze. Then he earned his blood. Hours later, Earth received intelligence that the Restoration Accord had called a meeting. Neutral ground. Ancient ruins on a dead world with no strategic value. Every faction leader was expected to attend. A chance, a single moment to end the war before it truly exploded. Strike did not hesitate. Prepare Operation Quiet Crown, he ordered. Kelrix watched him, eyebrows raised. You're going to kill them all? No, Strake said. I'm going to give them a chance. Kelrix did not understand. Straw looked at him. You defected because you saw truth. They don't see it yet. Let them see it up close. Judgment Day 2 will enter orbit above that meeting. No communications, no strikes. Just presence. And if they don't stand down, fire, Kelry asked. Strike's voice was like ice. Then we fire. 2 days later, the ruined world of Delcara saw something it hadn't in 1,000 years. Life. Diplomats, commanders, intelligence chiefs gathered in the half-buried temples to speak of rebellion, of war, of Earth's destruction. Then the sun disappeared. Every being on the surface looked up as Judgment Day 2 entered low orbit. No lights, no markings, just that impossible shadow. It did not speak. It did not move. It simply watched. And on every screen across the galaxy, one phrase appeared in black lettering. You started this war. We finish it, choose. The stolen ship did not hesitate. Judgment Day 2, now silent and soulless, drifted into Earth's orbit on a dead path. No transmission, no lights, just intent. The kind that needed no voice. Its command signal was locked. The AI Argos looped in a self-silenced firewall. Earth's override keys had been purged from its core. For all intents and purposes, Earth's most powerful weapon had become a rogue god, and it was coming home. Commander Strike stood in the command hall of Fort Aegis, surrounded by what remained of Earth's high command. The walls had been breached just hours before. Blood still stained the white floor. Soldiers patrolled every corridor, not for aliens, but for traitors in human skin. Sovereign won't talk, Ree said, his voice low. They're not negotiating. They took the ship to end us. Straw stared at the hologram above. The shape of Judgment Day 2 loomed like a tombstone over Earth. Its primary weapon fully charged, its AI enslaved to a foreign control. They'll fire, Ree added. Strike nodded once. Yes, they'll want to show the galaxy Earth can't even control its own creations. What do we do? Someone asked. Straw turned slowly. Fury lived in his voice, but restrained, controlled. We do what Earth does. We kill what we create. Deep inside orbit, Kelry suited up in full breach armor. He stood inside the belly of a stealth transport, the last one Earth had that could reach Judgment Day 2 without being destroyed. The plan was suicide. Get in, find Argos's core protocol and purge it manually. A hard reboot. Problem was, nobody had ever accessed Argos physically. It was never meant to be touched by human hands again. Your genetic pattern is off the registry, the tech warned. The ship might see you as foreign. Kelry did not flinch. I've already died to one side. I'm ready to die for the other. Straw stepped into the bay, worn and expressionless. You don't owe us this. Kelry looked him in the eye. I owe me. I chose Earth the day I saw truth. Not the myth of unity or justice. Just truth. You build monsters because this galaxy speaks in monsters. But monsters still need a leash, Strike nodded. And if you fail? Kelry smiled thinly. Then light me up from orbit and pretend I was never here. The hatch sealed. Judgment Day 2's outer skin shimmered with pulse signatures as the stealth transport pierced its outer layer and embedded itself into a maintenance port on the underbelly of the ship. No alarms. No defenses, which meant only one thing. They were waiting. Inside, corridors were dark. The ship no longer pulsed with living light. It was silent, sterile, dead, but somehow aware. As Kelry and 2 Terran Marines moved forward, lights behind them went dark. One by one, the ship was erasing their path. We're being funneled, one Marine whispered. Kelry moved forward. At the core, the AI control chamber glowed red. Argos was still there, but shackled. Its original voice and system overwritten by Sovereign's black code. And standing in front of it was a man Kelry recognized. The projection illusion flickered off, revealing the real traitor, Director Thorne. He smiled. I told you they'd never see it coming. Kelry raised his weapon. Thorne did not flinch. You're just another alien who begged for a seat at Earth's table, Thorne said. But you never understood. Earth doesn't share power. It survives. And we decided long ago this galaxy doesn't need Earth, it needs cleansing. Behind him, Argos began initiating targeting protocols on Earth itself. Strike's face appeared on a communication shard in Kelry's HUD. You've got 30 seconds. Either shut it down or we shoot the ship. Kelry hesitated. Then he did something no one expected. He lowered his weapon and walked toward Thorne. I understand now, he said. You think you're saving Earth by wiping it clean, but you're not Earth. You're just a ghost who forgot why it fought to survive in the first place. Thorne raised a pistol. One step closer. Kelry lunged. The 2 men slammed into the core housing. Thorne fired twice. Once into Kelry's shoulder, once into his thigh. But Kelry did not stop. He grabbed the director by the throat, slammed him against the console, and shoved him back into the hardwire socket behind the AI core. Electricity arced. Thorne screamed, and the system reset. Argos's voice returned. Clear, cold, controlled. Terran command protocol restored. Welcome, Kelry. Status, Kelry managed, bleeding heavily. Target, Earth, nullified. Cannon cooling. Straw's voice broke through again. Status? Kelry coughed, barely upright. It's done. The ghost is dead. Judgment Day 2 floated in silence. No longer a rogue god, now a scarred beast back under its leash. Kelry was pulled out by emergency evacuation. Half alive, broken, but with the war's most critical action now tied to his name. Back on Earth, Strike stood under a blood-red dawn staring up at the sky. "It's over," Ree said. Straw did not answer for a long time. "No," he finally said. "Not over, stabilized for now." In the weeks that followed, Earth issued its final declaration to the galaxy. There will be no further councils, no more votes. Earth speaks once. Disobedience means deletion. One by one, the remaining factions surrendered. The Ols Dominion fell silent. The Ovari technocracy offered unconditional neutrality. The Krinth collapsed into civil unrest. The stars became quieter. Kelry never returned to his people. He was given a home on Earth, though he rarely spoke. Some called him the alien who saved Earth. Others whispered that he was still a spy. He did not care. All that mattered was the stars had finally stopped screaming, and high above, Judgment Day 2 hung in permanent orbit, visible to all, a reminder that Earth came late to the galaxy's table. But when it finally arrived, it did not ask for a seat.